Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Sister Circle. I am your host, Wyntis Hall, and I have a co-host with me, Anna from the DMV. That's what everybody know you by, Anna from the DMV. Say hi,
Oh no. Sorry.
Anna. We could say Anna from the DMV and Flint, child, because she a part of us now. When you
Yes,
land
Flint's
down in Flint, you become a Flintstone. How you doing tonight, Anna?
I'm doing good.
That's
I'm still tired. I ain't gonna lie.
really me too, just a little bit, but I'm catching up. I'm slowly catching up. Being on time for work every day. It's been exhausting.
I'm
But
just still I'm still I guess before we get into our subject, I haven't had that much excitement and that much emotions in a long time.
mm,
And I think I felt every emotion God ever created in us to have.
wow,
In those 5 days, 4 nights. Um
that's
yeah,
powerful.
it was huge.
That's powerful. Yeah, we seen a lot. We did a lot,
Mhm.
and and I thought that it would be a good time to address everything, like put it all together and package it up. Everything that you've seen here in Flint as we did our tours. And then that Saturday, we did the march, the Silence the Violence March. And we have a mayor here that proclaims that violence is down.
Hmm.
But just, I think it was Wednesday evening, a young girl was sitting in her car with her parents just waiting to get some ice cream. And two cars were going down the street shooting at each other. And a 6-year-old little girl got shot in the arm. Thank God she's okay. But that is become the norm here in Flint, Michigan. For some reason, I don't, they don't fight anymore. Not saying that fighting is okay, but the first thing that they run is pick up a gun and they start shooting at each other, and it's getting more dangerous because as you're traveling down the street, shooting from car to car, bullets are flying everywhere, and it's like, what are we missing? What are the children here missing? Young adults, children that become young adults. And I was thinking about that today, and I was like, you know what? Maybe it's a motherless society. Not saying that they don't have mothers, but just that motherly love. I think a lot of our young people are missing. What do you think about that?
Um, Society is always, well, the media is always throwing out that the homes are without fathers.
Mhm.
That's the first thing they always throw out. But I think sometimes a lot of mothers have checked out
Right,
because of the amount of responsibility it takes. It don't take nothing to get pregnant.
right,
It
right,
takes some excitement.
right.
but, when, but
Yeah.
when it's time to, when it's time, once you give birth, there's two things that can happen. Some people, it doesn't happen. Something clicks in you. And I believe the Spirit of God clicks in you for believers. And even people that believe other things. It's that intuition that God gives us that kicks in. But for some of us, it doesn't kick in.
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes these kids are being raised in homes where that intuition hasn't kicked in. That mama lioness in her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because when you're carrying that baby for 9 months, you're nurturing that baby, you're creating a bond with that baby in the womb. And then when you see that baby for the first time, a lot of mothers, that's a feeling that you can't even explain. But like you said, in the media nowadays, children, babies have become an accessory, a
Mhm.
fashion piece. And I think a lot of women, girls, they don't know how to love on that child and raise them the right way. It doesn't take much to just a lot of people just don't know how to love.
Mm-mm.
We think it's so simple to love, but it's a lot of people don't know how to give genuine love.
You first learn love from me when you know who God is. He teaches you love. Then your parents teach you love. So what happens when you're a woman, a young girl, and you don't learn love from a male or from a female? You then grow up looking for it.
Absolutely.
Um, and so raising males as females, this is my opinion and only my opinion.
Hmm.
We still need to have a male mentor if we are single mothers, or or should we could be married and still be raising our kids by ourselves.
Absolutely.
That's the reality of this world.
Right.
Um, but I believe that you do have to have males, whether it's their grandfather, their uncle, a godfather, a friend of the family.
Hmm.
Boys especially for me, they have to have that male figure in their life.
Right.
Girls have to have it to understand that they're special and that God made them um, in His image too.
Right.
But that a man leads. These are my beliefs.
Hmm.
Um,
I agree with you.
but without a man showing them that they can lead, we end up being leaders in our households, and we weren't built to lead the house. That's just my opinion. We weren't built, so we're not equipped with certain things. Um, and so sometimes, we let the ball fall when
Right.
we're raising our kids because we're tired.
Right.
We're tired.
We are. And I agree with you. We read the same Bible, and it says that we're supposed to be a helpmate.
Yep.
We're not supposed to be leaders. And the man is supposed to provide for the family. That's the role that the man is supposed to take on in the family, be the provider, lead the family. But like you said, a lot of men have dropped that ball.
Hmm.
And the women have taken on role of leadership, provider. And then when it comes time to mothering and nurturing, they're tired.
Hmm.
They're just tired. And it's not saying that they're tired of the children, they're tired emotionally and physically.
But then we even got to dig deeper. That's only for certain women. But then we got women that aren't even really looking at who they're dealing with. And so they're out here just sleeping. God knows who. You know what I mean? Not trying to be funny. And they're popping kids out.
Mhm.
Um,
And
the
not
high,
realizing what they're doing.
they're not watching the decisions that they are making. And then that's when that pointing goes. And sometimes we have to look in the mirror as women and say, how did I play a part in this? I can't always go after the man. How did I play a part in this?
Right.
Do we really know each other, or
Right.
do we just sleep it around and then have a child? Um, Sometimes men will tell you, "I don't want a child with you." Yeah, they need to strap up. Condoms do break. I know a couple situations of friends where the condom did break, and my friends did get pregnant. Um, but does that mean that that child deserves to have less because of a decision, or of a father saying, I don't want to be a father, or the decision of the mom not wanting to be a mom? No. So that's where the community comes in too. So while we're talking about the motherless, we also got to talk about the community not being involved, the other mothers in the community. I don't know about you, but when we was growing up, every neighbor like knew my name when I would go outside. That's so and
Absolutely.
so's daughter, and we'll call. I
Mhm.
mean, literally call, and saying my name growing up is Anita. It's not Anna, it's Anita, because in the Hispanic community, I'm named after my grandmother.
Okay.
If your grandma's name Anna, which my name is, then you're younger, you will be Anita, which is the younger version of Anna.
I need that.
So Anita, like Anita Baker. So when I was growing up, they'd be like, Anita, Anita. Um, so when I hear that name, I know it's someone I grew up with.
Mhm.
I don't really tell everybody my nickname, it's out there because we're recording. But that name just rings a bell of a community that knew me when I was younger,
Mhm.
and how they played a part in my life.
Right.
But even now, I'm raising two girls, married, divorced, and I'm raising two girls. Do I drop the ball? Yeah, all the time. I'm not perfect.
Right.
I let my girls do things that I was allowed to do when I was younger. No, they're totally different than when I was being raised. I had a lot of rules, but they were good rules. But we're living in a new Winters. We're living in a new world today.
Right.
Everything is at our hands.
Right.
Everything is at our hands, and the Bible talks about our children uh, being more wiser as years come.
Oh God, yes. Yes. I mean, you think that your kids don't know, but they absolutely know everything that's going on. We have similar situations. I mean, to be totally transparent, I'm raising two girls too. My life is not a picture book story. I'm separated. I have my girls with me. And it's a challenge every day. But they absolutely know what's going on, and I've tried to shield them from everything that was going on. And then like they come and tell me, like, Mom, we knew the whole time what was going on. So, like
Mhm.
you said, kids are getting wiser and wiser as the days go on. And then, thank God I have my mother, I have my father there. I have that village. But a lot of children don't have that village.
Yeah.
Like when
Mhm.
I'm tapped out, when I'm just drained, when I just don't want to face it anymore, I have that village that comes up and helps me. But like you said, that's missing. Big Mama is gone. Big Mama is not here anymore. Big Mama is 45, 50, still popping it in the club nowadays. Big Mama is our age with grandchildren.
You're right.
So, I mean, it's like, where do
Well,
we
we
go?
got 30-year-olds that are grandmas.
Yes, we do. We do. We do.
Um, we do. Don't knock it. It's been going on for a long time, but I'm just saying it's always been going on. It's just the world is different. So when you have a 35-year-old grandma who's still hanging out, and when their daughter gets 15 years old or even 19, they can have their first child.
Right.
Um,
Because you have girls at home raising themselves.
hmm
Mama still want to go out, still want to have fun, and you forget, like, I got children. You know what? I can't do this activity. I can't go here. I can't hang out because I still got girls that they still, even though they're able to function on their own, they still need that presence,
Yep.
that guidance.
Even when I went to Flint, and we went to the row house on Thursday and Friday.
Mhm.
I knew, like, after a certain time, I knew I need to be back in that hotel. I do have a 20-year-old that can stay with the 14-year-old, but
Right.
that mama instinct kicks in me, like, no, I don't want them to, I don't want them to think that that's not my responsibility to be there when it's time for them to
Right.
go to bed and feel safe. You
Right.
know what I mean? We can have fun sometimes and go out, but we still need to be home at night.
Mhm.
That's why the new norm for our age group, I don't know if you heard of it, it's like day parties, which is like from 4 to 8,
Oh,
because
good,
some of
because that's my bedtime.
yeah, because I mean, once well, with the Gen X, which is our generation, I don't know about you. As soon as I turned 42, I was like, gosh, I'm tired. I want to go to bed by 8 and 9 o'clock at night.
I think last night was the first night I cut on my TV when I got into bed, and I didn't even make it to watching any program. But it's like times are changing. It's just the world is just nonstop, and we try to slow it down, but we can't. And our children, our adults, our young adults, our children, they are missing out on so much.
They're missing out on a lot. Um, and the more and more we're seeing death,
Mhm.
you know, the 6-year old, we've had the same situation. Mom is outside because she wants to be out. So she thinks because she has her children with her late at night that she's still doing her mommy duties, but she's outside with supposed to be family friends. Someone drives through and just shoots in the air, and her 6-year old daughter's gone.
Right.
Um, and the question
Thank
is,
God
this
this baby
community.
was okay. The baby here was okay.
Yeah, thank God. But here, this baby wasn't okay. And the sad part of it was when the community looks at the situation, it just like even in Beverly Biggs' situation, when people look at death, the world is evil when they respond to your hurt. The first
Yes.
thing they put on her thing, I mean, she's mourning her daughter.
Yes.
Yeah, she was actually out out on a corner in a busy area, dangerous area, part of Southeast. She was actually outside with her father, her cousins, and everything. Um, but for me, my norm is kids shouldn't be out by 8, 9 o'clock. But that's my norm. Everybody's norm is different. So it
Absolutely.
doesn't give a right for the community to question um, the death of that child. And we're starting to see that too, where we're judging someone like, well, why should you have that child out there late? Well, in this instant, the child was just getting ice cream.
Right.
Innocent, getting ice cream, and they're at harm. Like the other day in my neighborhood, 16-year-old girl is just sitting in her classroom. And these guys decide to start shooting up and down the street. And then the bullet runs through the school window. And she's
Wow.
in class and it goes, grazes her head. So we're getting to a point where it doesn't matter where we are, what time we are.
Right.
It's serious. It used to be like, well, you shouldn't be out late at night because it gets dangerous. Nah, broad daylight,
Right.
broad daylight, because there's no fear of God anymore.
Right.
That's just my belief. There's no fear
I
of God.
believe that too. It seems like death is just the new norm. It's like when we were growing up, we used to think that you died when you got old.
Yep.
And it broke my heart. Like when I met your youngest daughter, and she had on this beautiful chain. And I said, I asked your daughter, I said, well, who's that? And she said, this is my friend that got killed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow,
No, those
that's
things
the
are
new
okay.
norm.
Yep. I didn't grow up with it. My other daughter didn't experience it,
Mhm.
and it shook me because I was like, gosh, she wants a necklace. Like out of all the things, she wants a necklace with a picture of a friend of hers that she known since she was a little girl
Mhm.
to put on them. And the kids are walking around with these necklaces with angel wings. Like
Yeah.
this is the norm.
Yes.
Um, at first I was like, well, I'd rather have that than tatted because a lot of kids get tatted when their friends die.
Mhm.
That's another norm. But when do we get to the point where we don't, where we can teach our kids that this is not normal? Kids go with selfies to funerals because they're so used to it. Like they go live and. But with this last funeral, it was different. I went to, I'm telling you, I buried 4 14-year-old boys within the last year.
Wow. And I remember
So
it was like 2 or 3, like, right back.
yeah, back to back. Two died within 2 days, and they all sat in the classroom with my daughter. They
Oh,
sat in the classroom, same cohort, in one school. And all of them were not, only one can be considered wasn't supposed to be where he was at. But the other three, one going to school, one getting out of school, um, and one I think was robbed. The
mhm.
other one was out 4 o'clock in the morning. Um, he shouldn't be out there, but he's gone. So I'm not going to go on social media and tell and argue with everybody and say, well, he should have been in the house. Look, that's done and over with.
Right.
No man should have went outside and shot that boy because they thought he was doing something.
Absolutely.
I don't
Ab
care if he was outside 4 o'clock in the morning and he touched your car. It does not give you a right to go outside and shoot a boy because you think he's going to. Your car is not worth taking someone's life.
Girl, I
What
mean,
insurance for?
they have babies, and we've had killings here. A couple of years ago, a baby and the grandmother was inside the house at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they shot up the house, and the baby got killed, and the grandmother. So it's like inside, outside.
It don't matter.
You gotta until we change the mindset where human beings start to realize that they are human, other people are human. I don't think that it's ever going to change. Maybe it has to do with love. Maybe it has to do with a mother. Maybe it has to do with a father. But if you've had people that grew up and you heard the commissioner Delrico Lloyd sit right here and say he went from foster care to foster care to foster care. And
He could have went either way.
right. And he was not a product of his environment. You gotta change your mindset of how
Yeah.
you think. I believe it all starts up here in the heart and in the mind.
But I think he did say, which is the key thing, he was able to connect with one family that loved him, even
Yes.
though he was pulled from that house. He
Yes.
still had that connection of love.
Yes. He knew what it
But
felt like to be loved.
I always go back to that my Christian walk. If I didn't know who God was, who Jesus Christ was in my life, I don't think that I would know what love is. And that's where I always go with it. Today's kids, they didn't grow up like us. Like Wyntis, I know for a fact you grew up in church.
Oh
The
yeah,
way
you
your
went to
father
church.
prayed in church, I know you grew up with the word of God. I felt it when your mom spoke. I felt it when your father prayed. You can feel the spirit that was in your house when you grew up. So there's a protection that no one talks about when you know who the Lord is in your life. We don't talk about that. Yeah, we make fun of people. We say things because we're hurt. But I know deep down inside that there's a God that lives in me. And
Right.
I know that it needs to be passed to other people. But we're
And the
not in
script,
those times anymore.
right. But the scripture is right. It says, train up the child the way that he should go. So when they get old, they won't depart from it. Because I vowed when I left home, I
Yep.
was never going back to church again. Ever. I didn't ever want to see another church again in my life. But as I'm serious, but as I got older, as I started experiencing life situations, it took me right back to
Right
church.
back.
Because
Take me back.
I can't get through this. I can't get through this alone. You know what I'm saying? It's a faith walk. It's an everyday faith walk.
What was that song he was singing this morning? Savior. The was it
Ask me not, O gentle Savior, hear my humble cry.
that is so relevant for our conversation. If kids knew that, those words, it's like if kids knew that, even when they're in a house where they're not being respected as a child, or even given the basic needs,
Mhm.
or even not given the proper education that they should be having. Those are other things in the community and outside sources that affect our children too. They go into a building where there's not uh, water that they can drink,
Right.
uh, proper lighting, proper heat, proper air,
Mhm.
proper learning tools,
Right.
not even the right staff that's even educated enough to be even teaching you.
Absolutely.
And then
Absolutely correct.
they're in the school, they're not prepared mentally to work with children that are going through.
Mhm.
So they scream at our kids, but
And
we
then
don't,
they're not getting paid. Well,
and
they
they're
should
not
be
getting
getting
paid.
paid. So are you think they're giving not giving their best?
No, they're not. That's why retention is so high.
Mhm.
But that should be the one place that our kids should be able to go into, that when home doesn't do right for them, they should have a place where they could go into. And it's bad when you hear that the school has failed them too.
Mhm.
I don't know about in Flint, but in DC, we have a high population of homeless youth.
Oh,
Um, and the schools are not even reporting. So kids go to school so they can eat. A lot of them, one of the kids that passed away that was killed going to school, he came to school every single day. He was homeless because he basic need. I need eat. I need to be in a building
and
playing sports.
we hear about that more and more. I remember reading a story, and I can't say if it was here in Flint or not, but I heard about a young man that was going to school every day, and he couldn't get the haircut. You know, he was wearing the same clothes, and they opened up a laundry facility in the school, and some of the teachers started cutting the young boy's hair, you know, to make him fit in with the other children.
Yeah,
And then it makes you think like, what's going on at home? What is actually going at home? I had somebody, you know, and I try to repeat it, but I know I'm gonna screw it up. I was talking with someone last week, and they was telling me about the crack window theory. Like if you see a house with a crack in the window, it's like 150 reasons behind that crack in the window that goes. So you can find all kind of trouble that leads back to that crack in that window. We got mothers that want to go out with their daughters. That's not saying, you know, it's okay. If your child is of age and you want to go out with your child, be my guest. Me and my mother have been out. So I'm not saying that it's wrong. But you got mothers and fathers that aren't taking kids as their children. You know what I'm saying? They want to be their friends. And then me and my daughters, we joke, but they gotta know I'm mama first. I'm not
Yeah,
your
you do.
you know, all that, hey, bruh, bruh. No, I'm not your bruh. I'm your mama. So I'm not trying to hear all that. And they know that.
Said that the other day. Hey, bro, I said, hold up, hold up, hold
Right, right.
up.
Wait a minute.
She looked at me and I was like, we can't do that.
Right.
Whoopi Goldberg said on The View, I think a couple weeks ago, they asked her a question. She said, I ain't never been my kid's friend. I'm not their friend.
Mm,
And there's a reason for that. Um, because they have to know that when you say no or stop or don't go, is because you know what can happen to them.
absolutely.
Not because you're trying to control them, because they know that you have their best interest to protect them. But what happens when mom doesn't have that for them and they're free?
Right.
I hear people all the time in different chats that I've been in. Oh, my son is doing this or my daughter's doing this. And I always say, before you go and reach for help and to other people, you need to ask yourself, how are you living? Examine yourself. Um, do I always have different men around? Have I ever had a drug problem? Have I um, do not work? Or if I work, am I always at work? Do I talk bad about the father? Do I separate my kids according to who I think is better? You got to start questioning yourself how you impact your child psychologically, because we sit in houses um, where we think we're glass and nothing can break our glass, and our kids are the problem.
Right.
But we don't examine ourselves,
Right.
and we say it's too much. I need help. I need help. If you're having a lot of issues with your child behavior, check yourself first.
Our kids are a reflection of us.
Yes,
I
the
120% agree
apple
with
isn't
that.
far from the tree.
No, no. And I always say, I tell anyone, I've said this before, don't look for some. I don't want my kids saying, "Oh, I want to be like Anna. I want to be like Beyonce." I want my kids to say, "I want to be like my mother." Be your child's own role model.
Yeah,
Impact their life in a positive way so that they can say, "My mother did this. My mother laid the foundation, and how I should be when I grow up."
yeah,
But we have so many parents, so many parents, and I'm not excluding the fathers, because we have a lot of great
yeah,
fathers out here, but I'm not a father, so I can't speak
yeah,
from a father's point of view. That's why we're talking about mothers today. And we have mothers that have lost their way.
yeah.
They just don't know how. I'm not saying that they don't care. They just don't know how to properly care. It's more than
But we do
buying them
have,
the latest fashions. You know what I'm
but,
saying?
yeah, but we do can honestly say we do have mothers that, I'm sorry, are motherfuckers, that
Oh,
really don't
child,
care.
child.
Uh, that's the reality. We do. I've met them. I've met them, and I didn't even know how to comprehend it, because I'm saying, when that child is born, if that thing does not click, that nurturing, it's off.
Right.
You ever see women that get either, not knocking women because they have abortions, that's their thing, but multiple abortions, or multiple giving their children away, or a lot of time getting their children taken. Something's off,
Well,
and they need help.
this is a healthy debate. Now, here's where we can have a debate at. I say giving your child away or having an abortion rather than having a baby and mistreating a child.
Correct. I believe that. But I'm saying there's still a turnoff mentally, where you don't think that you can do it. We're in America. It's not the same in other countries. In America, there's resources that you can't get in other countries. Just imagine being in a third world country. You have a child, you're on your own.
All
Just look,
right.
you're on your own. In America, and I'm not trying to be funny, sometimes I think that's why people pop a lot of children. You can get housing, You can get medical insurance. You can get food stamps. You can you can even get TANF. I mean, everywhere. That's like money supports.
And right here in good
Uh,
old Flint, you can get $1,500 for having a baby and $500 for the first year.
so I'll just keep having them because I know that this will sustain me and keep me going. So I'm making not wise decisions to sleep with a guy because the more and more I have, one gets older, I bring another one so I can keep the money flowing. That's not every mother,
Hmm.
but
But
there
you do
is
have some.
mothers that are like that.
Yes, you do.
And then there's mothers that like where the father wants to be involved, but you can't claim them kids at the end of the year and even taking care of them financially. So they be like, I'm claiming them because they want that earned income. I mean, we do have dramatic mothers like that. They will
Yes.
kick the father away because of the money. Don't be saying you and then bash the father. And so sometimes those men walk away.
Never want to do that. I never want to do that. I want my child have a healthy relationship with their
Look,
daddy. Whatever we got going on ain't got
hey,
nothing to
you
do with
want
the
to see those
children.
kids? Here you go.
Here you go. Take
Oh,
them. Here you go. You come.
because it comes back. It comes back to us.
Hmm.
I tell it comes back to us because your children will get older and get mad at you. Why you stop us from seeing our father? You
Absolutely.
don't never want your children to say you talk bad about him.
Hmm.
So even if he get on your last nerve, go to your girlfriend and call. But the kids, they innocent.
Hmm.
So when he acts goofy and talks about the mom,
Hmm.
they know mom didn't do it.
Right.
They know when to correct and whether they want to keep the relationship. It has
Right.
nothing to do with. That's how I did with my daughter's father. I did not, and it was hard. It was hard because I'd be mad of the goofy things that I had to go through. But then I was like, I'm a person that likes supporting men and making sure that men, play a role and that they're not bashed and everything. And men should have rights to their children. So I made sure me myself, and I know what I went through in my marriage, but I knew what I went through. My mother never did the same thing to me. My mother divorced my father when I was 4.
Oh
And
wow.
then God opened the door. My mom met my stepfather, and I was raised by my stepfather.
Mhm.
So, but she never bashed him, and he did a lot. Now, when I got older, I got to make my own choice.
Right.
And I really got to see the things that he did to my mom because he still had that stuff in him. But I appreciated my mother because she never talked bad about him.
And I don't think that you are supposed to talk bad about the any child's father.
No,
And
now I do. You do. You do have to teach your daughters, especially with girls. Um, 95% of the time, it's unfortunate. Men move on real quick with another woman. We tend to be by ourselves. So when they're in this transitional stage, that's another thing that affects our kids.
Mhm,
Our parents are separated.
mhm.
Now I'm going to this other house, and dad has someone else, but
Mm.
mom doesn't. Or sometimes mom does. And those are the things that as parents, men and women, we need to work on. Sometimes you can move on with another relationship, but that doesn't mean that your children need to know that other partner right away.
I think
They need to know.
that's the nurturing part of women.
Yeah,
It's like we don't want everybody around our children. Like, no.
yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that because you don't know how long you're going to be with that male or that female.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
those kids get affected by it because they're going from house to house. Um, and my daughter has experienced when her father moved on. His girlfriend at the time was mean to my daughter.
Mm,
He didn't. My daughter came home and told me. Now
mm,
I had to get myself together because I didn't correct him and say you can't have. I didn't go to him and originally and said you can't have nobody around my daughter. I didn't do none of that. I gave him a chance because he's the father. So I trust that he will watch her. But she didn't tell him. She waited till she got home. And so the next time when it was time to get her, I didn't kirk at him. I didn't call him and say, how dare you? I waited until I was able to talk to her. And
mm.
when I talked to her, I made it known face to face. If you do anything to my daughter, you will have to deal with me.
Yeah.
Um, and
That's
I don't
what
think you're
kids
gonna like it.
period.
Yes, and I don't think you're gonna like how I deal because I don't deal the way you probably deal.
Right.
Now, I believe everything my daughter says because she's my daughter. Right in front of him, and he didn't even know. And the one thing about my ex-husband, my daughter's father, immediately after I walked away, he got scared because he thought I was going to yank his girlfriend. Because he saw I gotta like I don't back down.
Mhm.
I'm boom.
We know that.
But I know, but I know that she knew. I had to let her know that I don't play with my kids.
Right.
But I didn't stop him from seeing, and he corrected her, and he corrected. I walked away, and in front of me, he told her, "If you do anything to my daughter," I had to tell him, "Look, we're not doing domestic violence here, but I'm glad that you're protecting her
Right.
because
As
she's
it
here because she's here before this one.
should.
This
Mhm.
one might be here today, but she might be gone tomorrow. But your daughter will never leave."
And
And so
that's
I had to have that conversation.
that scares me because nobody's gonna love your children like you will.
Yes, no one. And it's competition. Why do those kids gotta come? Why? And some women. That's another thing. Women, we need to work on when a man has children and he wants to have a relationship. Sometimes we stop men that we dealt with to have kids, and we'll deny it. We'll stop and think it's about us, and stop a man from being a father.
But that's
And
a
then
decision that we make. And see,
no,
again, I'm glad you brought that point up because I always said before I got married, I never wanted to marry anybody that had children because I didn't want to go through that. I didn't want to go through the baby mama drama. I didn't want to deal with somebody calling in the middle of the night. I just didn't want to deal with that. So
yeah,
that's a choice that you make going into that relationship. And you know that if that man has children, that's a package deal. It should be.
I was lucky. My first husband, my daughter is his first child. So we both married. 7 years later, we have our first child. My second marriage, he had other children, but they were older.
Mhm.
So Liana is actually way younger than her siblings. Her siblings are 30 something years old.
Oh my
And
God.
Liana's
Okay.
14. So he did have when I before I had Liana, his two youngest kids were they were like teenagers, but they were grown. And then by the time Liana got like 4 or 5, those kids were grown. So I didn't really spend time with, I met them and stuff, but I didn't have that where I had to deal with the mother of the kids. I knew the mother of the kids
Right.
because I wanted to know them, because I wanted him to do better. Sometimes we marry somebody and they might be good to us with their child with us, but we got to see how they are with their other kids and the other mother of their kids. And I wanted to make sure that my ex-husband, he was my husband at the time, Liana's father, was very respectful of the mother of his kids, because he would say stuff and be complaining, and I'd be like, that could be me. You could be talking about me eventually.
Right. Or their own mother.
Yeah,
It's the mother of their kids, their
yeah.
mother.
And
Some
I
things we should be red flags, but we just don't pay attention to it.
we don't, because it's all that loving and loving.
Mhm.
Um,
Or is it
I had
lust, child? Is it
it's
lust?
love sometimes, but I did have to have that conversation. Like, look, and it's funny because I think every guy that besides my two husbands, even the guy I dated, I always got along with the mother of the kids. So I've dated guys that had kids, generally older, but I got along with the mother of the kids because I always wanted them to know that they have a right to know what their kids are doing, because I want the same thing. I've never been disrespected. Now, some women do get disrespected by the baby mamas, but I've never experienced that. Never. That doesn't mean that's for every woman as to why they act the way they do.
Right.
But for me, I can truly say uh, my ex-husband's the mother of his kids, I've never had no problem.
And then you have like some mothers that use children as pawns. And
Yeah,
you have to think about how does that child feel growing up knowing that my mother just used me to get back at my father my whole life. Did she really love on that baby with her full potential? Because I'm trying to really
yeah.
wrap my mind about like how are these children growing up and it's so easy for them to pull a trigger and just take another life and they don't even blink, Anna. They don't
And
blink.
Well, that's mental health too. Some of these kids whew, haven't been evaluated.
And I don't think here in Flint we can just blame it on the water because this is
No, you
happening all
can't.
over
This has been
America.
happening for a long time.
Yeah.
But you can blame it on the environment. You can. I don't know if you ever heard. I mean, this is not make believe. There is things that are being planted in the ground. There's plants out here that actually can make you hallucinate and anxiety, and you got to look at the environment around us too. So, lead in paint, lead in homes, those things do affect us. Um,
Yes.
that's everywhere. Um, but it's usually between the when the child is born that lead and all that affects them. Um, but psychologically, us as black and brown people, we have society has beaten us up with access. Um, so sometimes we pass that generational curse onto our children.
Yes.
We pass
Yes.
the same, um, you'll never be nothing. You can't do that.
Mhm.
Uh, Shut up, stay still. You know that mentality. And so when they go out, they kind of repeat
They
the
do.
they repeat it.
And it seems like when you grow up and you, how can I explain it? When you become an adult and you have your own family, like you want to break that generational curse. But if you haven't properly healed in the inside, you can't break it. And then
Mm-mm.
you grow up and you become an adult. You become a mother or a father, and you're harboring all of this hurt in the inside because you know, and I use your words, black and brown people. When you had to go see a therapist or a psychiatrist, you was labeled as crazy.
Uh-huh. And
So we never sought that therapy, that treatment to help us heal when we were younger. So we grow up, we hold it on inside, and we take it out on our families and we pass it down to our children. And we really don't realize what we're doing at the time, but that generational curse is still
yep.
there. It's not being broken.
I never forget, like, before my mother passed away, they had like a form for hospice where they ask you, she was applying for information before hospice, but they ask you like all these questions. And so my sister was making sure that she asked my mom and let my mom answer, not to assume, even though we knew. So I never forget the question was, have you ever dealt with mental health? Do you have mental health? And my mother was like, no, no, like really mad. Why would
Right.
you ask me that? And we're like, Mom, that's part of the question. And I remember my sister putting it on there, but I remember when my mom went to go sit down, how we both looked at each other and we were like, this is what we've been dealing with all our lives. Um, like it's a shameful thing to have anxiety disorder or to have PTSD or
Right.
to have be bipolar. Like these are normal things. There's a lot of us out here that deal with mental health, um, and we've never gotten the help. And so it's like a shameful thing. And I made sure to change that with my kids.
Right.
You need someone to talk to. I don't care who you are.
Mhm.
You need to talk to somebody. If you don't have a relationship with God, and even God tells you to seek counsel, to seek help. He even tells you. So this thing where prayed away, that's not even true. You
Can't pray mental illness away.
can't.
You
Uh,
just
you can't. Uh, it shows up everywhere, and it shows up in different ways.
do I
Uh,
hear sirens in the background now?
yeah, that's right here off of First Street. I do live next to like four major hospitals, so I am close to hospitals, so I'm always hearing ambulances.
Okay.
I live in an area where it's considered the like walk-in scores like 90%. Uh, Meaning I have access to everything you could think of, like 6 to 7 grocery stores I can pick from. But as far as hospitals, I have every major hospital next to me. You
Okay.
hear it's even closer.
Right.
It's going down. So that's why a lot of people when they pass my house, they're like, "Girl, you always have the ambulance." I said, "Because it's a hospital up the street."
Well,
Uh,
Anna, do you think I have a question I like to throw out at you? Do you think like if we sought treatment for mental health, if we if we loved on our children and pay more attention to their feelings and their thoughts and ideas, do you think that would curb a lot of the violence in our communities?
Oh, definitely. Even here, I belong to an organization called Parents Amplifying Voices for Education. And for the last, I think, 5 years until this year, we've been fighting for mental supports to finally get at least one behavioral or one person with the background on mental health supports in the school, at least one person that works there. Uh, we need it. And if if we can't get it when we go to get take our children to get their physical, we always think that the physical is just the body, but we
Right.
don't ever take our children to go get mentally checked. And so that's why we fight here, everywhere, because at least the school should have those that access for them. They should be able to go into school when they walk in and be like, I'm not feeling good, and that's okay, and be able to walk to someone to talk. Um,
Or they could be
because,
experiencing something at home and they
yeah,
just need to talk
yeah,
and tell somebody like, I need to have a conversation. This is hurting me and I need to get this out because a lot of people, like I say, a lot of these killings are done out of anger.
yep. We don't even. Some schools do it, not all. But wouldn't it be nice when our kids walk into the school, no judgment, knowing where they come from, but they do an exercise in the morning. And I'm not talking about a physical exercise. It's like, I am beautiful, I am smart, I am kind. How was your day? Like an exercise with all the kids. And then they can look at the faces and see, okay, we might need to go check this child. We might need to go check this child to get their eyes on our kids.
Mhm.
Because suicide rates are even high. Even though
It's true
they're
too.
shooting, suicide rates are even high too.
That's very true. I spoke.
So if suicide rates are high, mental health is high, I don't want to live, so I don't think you should live either.
Mhm.
And we're taking people out. Uh, and we also got to dig deeper, Wyntis, the mental health, but then we also got to look at our government. Why is our government not enforcing these ghost guns that are being dropped in black and brown neighborhoods?
Right, because you know damn well we ain't making them.
We ain't
We're
making
not bringing them here from overseas.
them. So the question is, how is our government? How's our council? How are our local police? Some of them are involved in it.
Mhm.
How are we holding our officials, our government for this? So we hold the household first, right? But then we got to look at, I sent my kid to school. How did my kid get a hold of the gun? I can't watch everything my child does.
Right,
Who passed that gun to my child?
right,
Because I know he didn't go to no gun store.
right.
So
That's
those are questions that need to be answered too. Um, but when you,
and our police. When you mention our police should be trained to handle, and we've seen this all across the nation, and they've been talking about it for years, especially since George Floyd. Our
yeah,
police should be able to handle cases of mental illness. I don't think our police are trained with that.
no, here we got a team
Well,
that
here
comes out.
they will take some of them council people away that we got here. I'm just saying. I'm just saying because it's not
Yeah,
always us. But then you have people that in the audience that they like here at distant council that the children. Think about the children.
yeah.
They come with their parents down there and they see the police being weaponized against their parents. A
You
weaponized
see the council screaming at the kids.
right. And they see the police being used as a weapon towards other people. These children will grow up
Yep.
remembering that. They remember, oh, maybe I'm supposed to be angry. Maybe I'm supposed to be forceful. I'm not supposed to like the police. Like these
Yep.
these are sensitive years
But
when
we
they
also got to look at, you know what? I don't know. When we was little, I don't know if you used to watch Mr. Rogers. You ever watch Mr. Rogers?
I love me some Mr. Rogers. Oh,
Mr. Rogers taught
they
us who was in our neighborhood. And
so
when
did.
we go in his house, he would change his shoes, change his,
Put on
put on his sweater, and then he
the
would teach you
sweater.
the community. He would teach you the community.
Right. Who's at the door now?
But
Oh,
when you look at that community, is it us? No. The community has changed. The ones
yes.
that the ones that are in leadership that run do not look like us. And then when we do get ones that look like us, they
That
weren't raised enough years to understand what leadership is. And so the corruption is huge.
it
And
is.
so Mr. Rogers' neighborhood was at that time, and that time is not here. And so no one know who plays a part in the neighborhood.
Right. You're so right. You're so right. Like all of those cartoons and little shows that we grew up watching, they all meant something.
Yep.
They all served a purpose. Our children don't. They
Uh,
don't do that nowadays. They
eh,
walk
eh,
with this right
yep.
here.
That has taken over activities. I'm so excited, and that your youngest daughter is that you have her in activity, that she plays sports. Um,
Yes.
but not all of our kids can play sports, so there's other activities like coding. But my 14-year-old, hopefully, I could get this girl to run track next year. Because you need to do something. Because if it was her, that's all she wants to do. Uh,
Hey, if she doesn't want to, if she just want to read a book, that's okay. That's okay.
yeah, but you need to have some type of activity, whether if it's not a sport, like you said, reading, coding, uh, even if it's like an outing, you taking your daughter or your son out to museums or to look at what's going on, look at all the free events
Mhm.
that are going on, because there is with all
Right.
these look with all of this grant money going out, they're supposed to be providing something for the community.
And it's
So we,
tons of free
yes,
activities here, but black and brown people don't take advantage of those.
we don't come to it. Uh, we don't want to be questioned. Most of the time, it's because we don't want to be questioned.
Right. We don't want to go to
It's a lot of surveying, especially with nonprofits. You have to write so much. How many numbers? How many people came out? And some people don't want to give you their email or their phone numbers.
Mhm. Just make up stuff. Put it down.
Yep, make
Get
up
your book
anything,
on
but
it.
it,
Because this is not healthy. This is not healthy for a
it's
young
not.
woman.
It's not. I remember when when I was young, I went to Disney World. I used to go to Disney World every single summer. My
Girl,
parents, we went to
I went to
Disney World
Disney World so
every
when I
summer,
was little. I'm tired.
every summer.
Right.
Even down to when my mother retired, she moved to Florida, and my daughters went to Disney World every summer, like I did. Uh, but at Disney World, they had Epcot Center, and I don't know if you remember Epcot Center,
Yes, it's been around forever.
but Epcot Center used to have I can't remember the name now, but it was where you walk. It was like a moving walk thing,
Mhm.
and you got to see the future. And I don't know if you remember the exhibit. It's still there, where they said in the future we will see through a TV, and a TV would teach us, and it's still there. Um, and that's what this is. This is the lens that's teaching our kids
Yes.
how things should be. And that's another form of control. Same
Right.
thing with our education, but that is controlling our kids.
Right. Like they said,
Games,
the government
our
said
music.
we would walk around with a chip in our hands and would be.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put a chip in my hands. We are walking around with
We are walking around with a chip.
our hands. Right.
Unless you got the COVID shot, we might have a chip already.
That's another show. That's another show.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Well, I'm gonna do my wrap up and I'll let you
Yeah.
in the show. But I just hope that some mother is watching this show tonight, and I just want to tell you, love on your children a little bit more while they are young because they need you.
Yeah.
Whether they say, get away, mama, oh, I don't want all that, quit kissing on me, quit hugging. Let them know that that's normal. Let them know that it's okay. Let them know that they are loved. We need more love in this community, in your community, wherever you are watching from. We need more love. And I think that that will help curb some of the violence. It won't stop it, but it'll help curb some of the violence. And you could be helping. It just doesn't have to be your child. You see a child, just I mean, you can't go all up and just love all on them, touch on the child. Just how you doing? How you doing, young man? How you doing, young lady? And just let them know that it's somebody out here that cares. That's what I want to say. So Anna, you can take us out.
Uh, so I would say seek God first, seek knowledge of your understanding of what's going around with you. Always seek truth. But the first thing you always need to seek after you seek God is forgiveness. Forgive the things that you've been through, and those chains will start to come off. And as mothers here, it's your responsibility to make sure your children get the things that they need. It's not no one
Absolutely.
else, it's our responsibility. That's all I
Absolutely.
wanted to say.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for tonight's Sister Circle. We will be back next Friday, same place, same time. Good night, all.